So yeah, first of all, thank you for thanks for joining this call and for the fact that you're thinking about doing the big lunch, because actually taking that first step is often the hardest thing. You know, you're thinking about doing something really kind and supportive for your community, which is great. So yeah, that's kind of how to do the big lunch, is what I'm going to go through really quickly. First of all, you need to decide what you're going to do, where and when. Whether it's going to be online, you can do face-to-face. You may know what you want to do already, or if not, today will hopefully help you decide. So last year we did the virtual big lunch, and a lot of people took their events online. So this is a picture of a big lunch happening last year online. So you could use a Zoom or Teams or Facebook to kind of use that and have that online space for people. I really like this one because everyone properly got together. There's bunting, there's a model of an actual big lunch happening here. Sorry, I've got two screens, so I'm looking both ways. And actually, I personally find it really awkward. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I better turn my screen off because I'm eating. But actually, remove self-view and then you won't know. You don't know what you look like. Nobody wants to see themselves eating. I agree with that. But actually, it's a really nice way to connect, and it is possible to still do that. We've all been doing stuff on Zoom for ages and we know our way around it by now, hopefully. The other way to do the big lunch this year is to do it on your doorstep. So you can meet in your street, you can agree a time and a place is your doorstep, a time to have a cuppa together. Some people are talking about doing street parties from social distancing, which is another option that you could do. Alternatively, you could go to the park, go for a walk, and make use of our amazing green spaces. There are loads of ways, you know, having picnics from distance. We'll go through these a little bit more in a minute when we talk about specific ways of doing your big lunch. This quick introduction, basically keep it fun, but keep it safe. And it's about connecting with people. So we want to make sure we can do that and in a safe way. So next you need to tell people about it. So you've decided how and when you're going to do it. You need to let people know about your event. So in the pack, you can get, we do send invitations and posters that you can write yourself. Last year, some people put like posters in car windows or in their house windows. If you're doing a public event and you're kind of arranging a safe public event more openly to the public, you could do like a Facebook event or advertising it online. I've shared this photo because it's a lady called Laura who's done a big lunch for a few years, and actually she I think it was the day after the Manchester Arena attack, and she was feeling really disheartened, obviously like hopelessness after that attack, and was like, actually now is the time for me to connect with my neighbours. So she actually got the felt tips out, wrote a personal letter, and photocopied it and sent it around to her neighbours. So there's that, actually sticking to the classic simple stuff, and yeah, there's the personal touch really makes a difference, I think. So food is a little bit, I feel like this is a little bit the elephant in the room. It's called the big lunch, but are we going to share food this year? So just the main message I'd give on this is do whatever you're comfortable to do in your community. There are loads of ways that you can involve food with your big lunch and still have it feeling comfortable and safe. So you could bring your own food for you and your household. You could even share a recipe or ingredients with people on your street or in your community, and everyone can cook the same thing, or a themed night. You can have everyone could be cooking Italian food, something like that. Or you could even do like a takeaway. We know a few people last year did joint takeaways where everybody had takeaway either in their own home or in their garden, and actually you were all having chippy tea. You weren't together, but you were doing something together. So there are loads of ways of doing it, just whatever way feels comfortable to you. And yeah, it's about, I think it doesn't have to include food. If there's a cup of tea, it's still a way of connecting. It's the excuse that people need, I think. Oh yeah, and another way to do it is, I'm going to totally point at Sam now, but Sam did this last year, where she actually put cake on her front lawn and said, it wasn't this cake. This is just, I found a really nice picture of a really pretty cake that looks delicious and makes me hungry. But yeah, you could put a cake in the middle of your street or on your front lawn, get people to bring their own plate and cutlery and a drink. and actually they can help themselves. So there are inventive ways to work around the food. But at the heart of the big lunch is the people. So you don't even need food. As I said, it's if you've got a cup of tea and you're having it at the same time and you're connected, then that's the excuse you need. That's what we like. So the other bit of advice we do is make it special and fun. So how can we do that? We can do it with decorations. This is the picture that I could find with the most bunting ever, which I think is from Northern Ireland. So Grania can correct me if that's right. But yeah, you don't need that much bunting, but actually having a bit of bunting can make a space, make it inviting to people. If you're doing something online, you could have fun backgrounds. You could do chalk decorations for pavements. That's something fun for the kids to do, and actually it helps decorate. I think Katie might mention later, but actually you could use chalk to help social distance as well. You could do a fun theme or a colourful dress code. So this group in Neath, as you can probably guess, did a Hawaiian theme, and I just love it because there they are. It's probably in a drizzly day in Neath, and they're having a lovely time imagining they're in Hawaii. But yeah, actually there's, you know, people were putting on their ball gowns to put out their bins in the last year. Why not? Let's just do it. Let's make it fun and a bit silly. The other thing you can do is set up games. So there are loads of games that you can do, games and activities really, that you can do at a distance or online or from afar. So yeah, hula hooping. I can't remember what else I've got here. Bubbles, yeah, that's another one that's a fun activity for people to do. If anybody has small children, you know that they love popping them and running around after them. But we'll have some more ideas in a minute on that. And yeah, if you want any more specific ideas on games and stuff, you can chat through those in the breakout rooms in a minute. This is my picture to show fundraising. But I just love this poor gent's face in this photo. So yeah, it's been a really difficult year, and loads of small charities and community groups have not done the fundraising that they would want to do in the last year. So actually use the big lunch as a fundraiser. We've got loads of ideas. We do a survey every year and we find out that on average about £8 million is raised for hyperlocal events every year, which is fantastic. So we're just saying, you know, do that, make the most of the big lunch and do something for a cause local to you. Our colleague Grania, who might be on the call, actually did an event last week with myself on using your big lunch as a fundraiser. So if you're interested in that, you can find that on our YouTube channel and you can watch that back and get loads of ideas about how to do fundraiser. Right, nearly finished, and then you can stop listening to me talk. So just to go through the serious bits, the big lunch is fun, but I know some of you will have questions around the serious bits, the admin. So do you need to assess health and safety? Do you need to get insurance? What about if you want to close your road or get permission to take photos? So in most cases, the big lunch is small and informal, and you may not need that sort of red tape sorted. You can probably get away with it as it's an informal event. If you're hosting a larger event or a public event, or if you just want to be confident and comfortable, then you may want to do some of those things. So just to say, I'll signpost to our website, which I'm hoping Paul might put in the chat in a mo. So we've got a template, we've got a website there, our web link, which is, we have templates for risk assessments. We've got a deal this year with an insurance broker. So if you want to insure a one-off event for your big lunch, you can do it from, I think it's from about £20. Which is great just to have that if you don't have any other way of covering that. If you want help with road closures or linking with your local authority, again, there's a few useful links there. And to be honest, if all else fails, get in touch with us and we can try and signpost you and help you and put you in the right direction. So there are the serious bits to go through, but it's not going to stop us, hopefully. And just to say, government restrictions wise, I know we're all in different places across the UK, so it will vary across our nations. I know in Wales, I'm in Cardiff, so in Wales yesterday we've gone to being organised groups of 50 outside, inside, yeah, 50 outside. I think it's 30 inside. and I know that's changing on the 7th of June as well. But we can cover these in more detail if you want that advice. Our advice will always be check government guidelines officially, but if you want to chat through that later, we will split into nation-specific regional groups. So we can go through, if you have any questions on English rules, Welsh rules, Northern Irish, Scottish rules. So we can hopefully help with that. Right, boring bit done. Have fun. At the end of the day, it's all about having fun and connecting with people. The point of it is to connect and have a good time. And actually this year we want to thank each other and celebrate each other. So get people involved, and actually you'll be surprised how often they're waiting for you to ask. Like, you go out there, put yourself out there and ask people if they want to be involved, you'll probably get loads of positivity back. So hopefully that's like a whistle-stop tour of how to do a big lunch. I'm going to do a shameless plug for if you do a big lunch and you take photos, use the hashtags the big lunch, and in Wales it's Cinio Mawr, because we'd love to see what you get up to. But right now I'm going to stop sharing. I love that photo of those kids. There you go. I'm going to stop sharing. And next, we are going to go into some breakout rooms to discuss the kind of what you're thinking or share ideas around how you want to do your big lunch. So we split these up into virtual or face-to-face, and you can pick which one you want to go into. So Katie and Mo are going to host those rooms, and we'll quickly introduce some of the ideas that they have on that topic, on how to do it in that way. And then we're going to split into groups. So shall I pass to Katie first? Great, thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks for that lovely note of positivity there about having fun, because that's really what we've got to hold in our minds with all these other things going on, isn't it? That ultimately want people to connect and have fun. So I'm looking forward to joining some of you in a breakout room in a few minutes, all about what we will do if we want to do a socially distanced outdoor, indoor, face-to-face big lunch. And although Laurie said I'm going to share my ideas, they're not my ideas, really. They're ideas that we've seen people doing in the past, that we've heard other people talking about. Some of them might even be your ideas that you've shared with us before already. Most important thing as well is that this needs to be about what's right for you and your community. So there's all these sorts of ideas, but it's a bit of pick and mix. As Laurie's really outlined so clearly, it's about you choosing what's right and what the right fit is for you. So there's lots of things to be considered. We've got to think about safety, group numbers, social distancing, but maybe we also need to think a little bit about the social aspects of bringing people together as well after a long time, when some people may have been shielding, maybe very nervous, and some people may, and I'm probably included in this, want to be eased into it quite gently. And going to a big group of people anyway, whether it's allowed or not, is not what we all want to do straight away. So we're looking at some quite gentle approaches. The first thing I'm going to do is show you my big lunch. And I'm going to do that by moving my webcam, because I promised Laurie something that I would do for this session. So I'm going to take you down a little journey. Here we go, down onto my desk. And over here, you will see my big lunch in a box. Oh, I might have to go the other way. My cable's on. Here we go. So here we go. Here's my big lunch in a box. So I hope you can see that. There we go. So we actually have, I think this is St. Ives at the top here, and a lovely field of snowdrops, obviously not quite the same season. And this is my very eclectic selection of Lego that I had to build my big lunch from. So my big lunch is going to have 2 pirates, one that doesn't have a head, one fighter pilot, and one space person / knight. I'm not entirely sure. We have a map there because we're going to talk about our local community and what we're all doing. And we have actually closed the street with this small piece of Lego, which obviously will stop anybody coming and parking there. And I just happen to have 2 horses in my bag of random Lego. So I thought they'd like to come along and join the big lunch as well. So there we go. That's my big lunch. I promised Laurie some Lego and she got it. There we go. So we are going to chat about some of the big ideas for the big lunch. Most of these I think are going to focus on the outdoors, I suspect. There may be some smaller organised groups that may still be meeting inside for particular reasons if they're running groups that are for health and well-being reasons. They may be meeting indoors. But let's focus on the outdoors. So Laurie has already mentioned loads of brilliant ideas, and some of the ones that we've gathered today are obviously picnic blankets in the park. There's also the idea, I saw bubbles mentioned, so bubbles and bunting, and I was actually thinking bubbles and bunting, do we actually mean Prosecco and bunting, or do we mean big blowing bubbles? I think we mean big blowing bubbles, don't we? Those giant bubbles. So bubbles and bunting. Actually, I'm calling in from Scotland on the East Coast. So obviously I'm thinking a little about the weather. So I'm maybe thinking an umbrella and puddles party outdoors. So bring your wellies and bring your umbrella. And we'll have our picnic under our umbrellas just in case. Outside on the street, we saw some lovely pictures as well. So all depends on your local community. Are you in a cul-de-sac where everyone can put something in their driveway, or is there a communal piece of grass that you can all access? Or perhaps you're going to go to your local park. Perhaps you're going to do the walking and talking idea as well. And if that's maybe 2 or 3 smaller groups, you'll walk and talk, leave at different times, and then have a small picnic at the end. There's lots of ways to think about it, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your ideas. And then we'll talk a bit about the way we can bring connection into those as well. So the games, so scavenger hunts, looking for different colours and textures, themes around fancy dress, local history, and Laurie mentioned food as well. So that's a really important part of the big lunch. How can we still bring that element in if we're not having big communal meals where we're all sharing dishes that we've made? How do we bring that element into it for connection? And also, will nature play a big part in whatever we choose to do? Because if we're thinking about having our big lunches outdoors, do we want to theme something around nature as well? Because that could be part of your scavenger hunt as well, perhaps. So there's lots of thoughts on that. So on our call, it's all low tech today. This is what we're doing. We're doing the big lunch and we're talking about the who, what, the where, the when, and the why. And actually the why here is in gold, because that's the golden question to me. Let's hold up in the middle of all that why we're doing this and how we want to bring people together. And that's me.
Well, in the competition between who you're going to pick, everyone, are you going to pick Katie's or are you going to pick my room? So I'm leading the discussion around the virtual spaces, the distanced big lunches and celebrations. And it's obviously something that is a huge challenge at the moment because a lot of people are ready to move on and want to be outside, but there's still loads and loads of really good reasons why you as a community might not want to meet in person, or maybe can't meet in person for so many reasons. Maybe actually you're a community that's been built up outside of a geographical area. Maybe you have people who are still shielding and still cautious, or maybe it just doesn't feel right and actually you're looking for some different ideas. So in the virtual space, it can feel a little bit like we've been doing this now for a whole year. Zoom fatigue is something that we've been talking about in our team, and I'm sure a lot of people are talking about. So in our discussion, I think we'll touch on a little bit of that, about how to take a off-kilter, outside of the box look at what virtual spaces can be and how you can run different activities through Zoom. I've been absolutely fascinated by the amount of online styles of activity that you wouldn't consider. Like, I know Zoom quizzes are one that we've all heard about lots, but there are lots of other ideas. I'll be really interested to have a chat with you all about what have we heard about that could be used to bring people together. Because as Katie said really well there, we've always thinking about the reason why we're bringing people together, and the idea of thanks and celebration and joining, that's got to be at the core of everything that we do. So we'll talk a bit about the, digital space solely in things that you do through maybe your computer, but I must say I've really enjoyed picking up the phone this year. I feel like for a good 6 months I didn't pick up my phone, I just Zoom called people, but actually in a lot of projects it's now thinking about, well, who isn't in that digital space and how can you use the telephone in fun and exciting ways. I have a few ideas that I found in an old entertaining book from the 70s of how to host a dinner party, and some of them had like murder mysteries you could run just by phoning people, and buddy systems, and thinking about those ideas. Okay, here we have the phone, most people have access to a phone or a phone line. How can we kind of think about other ways that aren't Zoom to create that distant space? And I think this has been touched on as well. There'll be some crossover with the things that happen outside, but what are things that you could do distanced but together? So I'm going to be talking a bit about my experience as an artist running distanced art classes and sending packs to people. And there's a blend of something that you do remotely but together. And then how can you distantly enjoy that? So we're thinking about like street galleries where you put up a gallery, maybe frames, paper frames along your street, and then everyone adds some artwork. Maybe it's a recipe book that you all add one recipe to and then gets made. Excuse me. And yeah, we've talked about treasure hunts, and of course there's those lovely thank you notes, and I'll be talking a little bit about the things I'm doing in prep for Big Lunch Weekend in a couple of weeks. And finally, I think there's something about things that you can maybe prepare now with your community to all do together at some point. So I think thinking about the online art classes or packages, like we send you your Big Lunch pack in the post. What would the Big Lunch pack for your community look like? And how can we kind of learn from one another to adapt these ideas that we have to the communities that we are doing together? So I think, again, I'm just really looking forward to hearing everyone's ideas, and I'll be facilitating the space, and we'll always be looking back at when you're online, how do you keep people safe? How do you keep people engaged? How do you get the word out there? And then how do you make the most of the different ways that you can connect with people remotely? And how do you make your event a really fun, exciting time? So pick me and come and join my Breakout Room to do the virtual events chats. Yeah, back to you, Laurie.
Thanks, guys. I love that it's become a competition. So we're going to do breakout rooms now. I can see both of you saying, yeah, a few people saying actually they want to join both rooms. So Sam is the queen of breakout rooms today, and we're actually going to let you pick which room you want to join. And what you can do, and we won't be offended, is that you can join one if you're interested in both. You can actually join one room and then jump out and join the other. And if you have any technical difficulties with that, someone will be in the main room for you to come back to. However, we will have a quick chat after we've done the breakout rooms. We'll have a quick chat about what the breakout rooms covered in case you want to be in both. We can't record the breakout room, so we can't share back the actual idea from both. So I was just thinking, was there anything that people thought was useful that they might like to share back, or any highlights to share back from those discussions? I would say, does anybody want to volunteer to save Katie and Mo? Because otherwise I'm going to just be like, Katie, tell me what happened. But yeah, if you could, yeah.
I'm happy to go.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Just
in the face-to-face one. And an issue we want to make sure everybody is aware and stuff is more the fact about serving food. And so do we want people to bring their own? But as a community type of thing, we would rather share, but it depends on the people. So you want in the invite to say you can bring your own, or if you want to share with other people, feel free to do so. And then if people feel confident enough to try other people's food, then great. But yeah, so one thing that we said also, it's maybe the best way to do it is to have one person serving, as in a health and safety kind of thing, one person dedicated with gloves and tongs specific to each dish to do the serving, and then people bring their own plates and cutlery. Then that saves on dishwashing and saves the planet from bringing, paper plate.
Yeah, really.
And if they can't come, they have to plant a tree for Valerie's birthday on the 4th of July.
Amazing. Oh, Valerie, you're on mute if you're trying to talk.
It's not have to, but I'm just asking. And I have to just tell everyone, Larry, you'd be amazed. It started off with one man in Malawi. Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world, said, we will plant trees for your birthday, Grandma. And now I've got offers of trees from America, Australia, and we need them from Wales and England and Scotland too. And then I'm going to get photographs, everyone to send a photograph of what they plant. And then I'll create an ebook of how you and then it's something for me to keep, but also it can be shared to everybody. And planting is something where, especially when you do it with the children, you can explain why we're planting. Trees are our lungs. We need trees to breathe. If you can't breathe, then you're dead. So, you know, let's show the children that they can make a difference.
Brilliant. Thanks, Valerie. I think we're all going to be planting trees, and I think we all want to come to your birthday party. I saw the notice you put in the chat.
Well, you're all welcome as long as you can get here. Motherwell is not the easiest place to get to. Is it, Sam? It's actually it's pouring with rain now, but that's where I live.
Oh, beautiful.
And there's 30 village actually houses in the village, but half of them are empty most of the time. But I live here and it's good.
Thanks, Valerie. Just to go back to what Geraldine was saying a minute ago, the food thing is, yeah, as I said, it's one that we can definitely get around, but it is definitely something to think about, both what restrictions are in place and what time of year you're going to do your big lunch, whether it is June or later in the month or later in the summer. And yeah, and also the kind of what people are comfortable with, definitely. Was there anything else that anybody wanted to feed back about the sort of key things that they thought was really useful from their group? Just to give a flavour to the other group so that they didn't miss out too much.
Well, I can share a little of what we spoke of, because I think there was some really practical things that came out. I guess my take from our chat from the virtual space was that it's about sort of new experiences and doing things slightly differently. Maybe that there are groups of people who've actually never met in person before, only met in the digital space, and those friendships aren't less than, they're just different. So still wanting to do things, and there's kind of those reasons. So we talked a little bit about things I love the chippy tea idea, and then being encouraged to call people while you're eating together, and gathering all kinds of folks who maybe engage with different projects. So maybe that virtual space really helping to kind of bridge those gaps that you might, or the barriers, by having a really easy to access space. So we had some ideas around reading stories together, different people reading different parts, the food delivery of and like green tea and different kinds of foods being shared around, so everyone has the same ingredients to eat together. And memory jars, I love this idea. So everybody gets a jar and some instructions, and then you're encouraged to share it with memories, and then looking ahead. So a few ideas to saying, what can we do now that we can reflect back on? So there's another idea of propagating little pots of herbs that will come up as 2 plants and giving them to neighbors who then grow them and nurture them over the year to then split them and share them and share them. Kind of the German friendship cake, if anyone's had an exploding German friendship cake. I always feed them too much and the yeast makes them big. Anyway, and that element of it, like a challenge, I was talking about, like encouraging people to come to Zoom calls or like online spaces through, you know, sharing a little to people of what you're going to be doing when you get there. So somebody talked about a MasterChef cupboard challenge idea, and kind of giving people a little, like, you've got a part in this. You're not here to just listen and take part, but actually you have a role, and this is your role. So we had a really lovely chat. Yeah, if I've missed anything out, please jump in, anyone, or just pop it in the chat. I guess really useful to share with everybody. Sounds amazing.
It sounds like actually it's amazing the kind of inventive ideas we can come up with when we're sort of gone, right, we want to do something but we don't know how. Let's think of something inventive. I'm just going to super quickly share my screen, because I had these photos. Talked about chippy tea. I had these photos, these poor gent just quite obviously in the rain from last year. He sent these guys, a group in Llanelli sent us these photos, and they were like, yeah, quite obviously like huddling under gazebos in the rain, but still managing to have a nice time. So I just, when you said that, I was like, just love that picture. Cool, thank you. Yeah, I think it's was there anything else that anybody else wanted to bring in, whether the sort of virtual or face-to-face, anything that people really thought, actually, that's really useful, I'll take that away, and I think everyone should know this? If not, we can move on, it's not a problem. Thanks, guys. So next up, we've kind of just left this as a bit of an open space for any questions that people have. So hopefully you've had a lot of questions that you may have come to this call with answered already in the breakout room and in the introduction. But if you not, and you've still got a few burning questions, feel free to unmute yourselves or pop them in the chat, and we can run through anything and just have that kind of open space. And if everybody's like, nope, we don't have any questions, then we can swiftly move on. And again, if something comes to you later, feel free to get in touch with us as well. Did I see someone unmute? Oh, Geraldine.
Yeah, Katie was going to share what's in the pack so that we had a clue beforehand. Or if you
the
have
big
it.
lunch pack?
Yeah.
I've got mine ready here, if that helps, Katie. I think Katie might have just run off to get hers. Yeah, so I'll do a quick caveat that mine is a bilingual one, so everything on it is bilingual. But yeah, you get a pack like this, and it opens up like this. You get lots of information. It's really quite thorough this year. It is every year, to be honest. So we have a kind of how to do the big lunch guide here. It's very cool. That's kind of some of the stuff that I ran through earlier, but just with much more detail. We've got a thing of a little pad of invitations that you can, there you go. Katie's showing I've got the bilingual ones, Katie's showing English only ones. We've also, I think most people are getting, this is a insider knowledge now, you're getting some free tea bags so that you can invite somebody to do something with you. We've got some stickers. Which one's the English ones? I can't see which ones I'm showing now. And then a little bit of information, so there's a thing about with the tea bags that says about how you can do something really small, and mine, really small with just your neighbour, just with one person with that cup of tea. We've got a little bit of advice on doing a big lunch online, a little bit of advice on fundraising, and some posters, which you can have sort of, what's that, A5 or this A4 there as well. We also have it that you can, if anybody needs more of any of those, we've got like extra invitations and posters that we can send out to people. I just saw Katie's message about not being able to use the tea bags because she's already used them. Did you use them with somebody to connect with somebody, Katie, or did you just have them yourself?
I did. I had a cup of tea with my neighbour.
Amazing. So I can see that Ish has just said, can we get some more invitations? Yeah, we've got extras of stuff like that, so we can send those things out. And I'll also do another shout out that as I said, we do have like t-shirts and bunting that we can hand out this year, so you can sort of decorate and make the space if you don't have any of that and you want some of that. I'm just going to, so if there's any other questions, did that sort of help, Geraldine, being able to see what you get? I saw a comment earlier in the chat that said about Volunteers Week, so I just wanted to highlight that as well. So I mentioned the month of community. In case I didn't say it, the big lunch is the last day of the Volunteers Week this week as well. So the Volunteers Week and the big lunch are kicking off the month of community. So actually, it's a really good opportunity if you're working with community groups or you know of any groups near you, actually to be able to say like cheers to your volunteers and say thank you, like do something for them as well. And I can see a few more questions coming in. Is it too late to order a paperback? No, they're still available. I would say probably, I think they're probably going to be available up until and after the big lunch. I could double check that. If you would like it before the 6th of June, I would advise maybe ordering it in May, because there is sometimes a kind of week to 10-day delay. So if you've ordered one and it's not come yet, it is on the way. And if you're worried about it, just give us a shout and we'll double check it's on the way. I think Gronya put in the chat earlier, we did have to reprint some of them because we ran out, because we were just amazed by the response we've had this year. Because we kind of, we were thinking, oh, people might do the big lunch this year, but actually people are keen, and I think we all need something to look forward to by the sounds of it. Oh yeah, no, so that's fine there. Valerie's telling us about her planting her trees. Brilliant, thank you for that, Valerie. And that's answer. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I was just going to say, Katie, going back to Lego, I spoke to someone this morning about how you were going to mention Lego, and it was actually a group from men's sheds, and they actually said, oh, we've probably got enough Lego to do social distancing, as in to mark out on the floor. So I was like, that's a brilliant way to do social distancing. I was like, you've got to have a lot of Lego, but if you've got a good collection. So that I was convinced that's what you were going to show us then.
Just make sure nobody treads on it though, because if you've ever trodden on a piece of Lego, you'll know that there's no pain quite like it.
Very, very true. Yeah, so anything else that anybody wanted to query or anything I've missed in the chat? Oh, Andy, I can see your hand. If you'd like to unmute yourself. Are you struggling with that?
It's got it.
Oh, there you go.
Talking about men's sheds, we've the panel who I work with, we've just given some funding. You've got two in Eastbourne, one in just outside Eastbourne, and the other where I live in Hampden Park, and we're working with them fairly closely. So it probably involve them what we do as their big lunch. They will be involved as well. So
brilliant. Yeah. We were talking to so I was talking to the men's sheds in Wales, in Cymru, and they were kind of all encouraged because they're starting to open up their sheds.
That's right.
Thinking about doing big lunches to kind of have that opportunity. But actually, it's another thing. Actually, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but actually, try and collect the skills that you have near you to help out with your big lunch, because I know men's sheds are full of skillful people and people building stuff and crafting stuff, and then you might have somebody down the road who's really good at baking cakes and somebody who's good at making bunting. So it's kind of, you kind of can source lots of stuff that you want to do from the people that you're nearby, and yeah, men's sheds are definitely one of those. So that's brilliant. Thanks for that, Andy. I can see, is it Caroline has her hand up?
Hi, yeah, I put the question in chat really. I see that national events sponsored this year by Iceland. As part of that sponsorship, do you know if local stores are open to being approached to help support local groups deliver on their big lunch this year? I know we've got a bit of a relationship with the local Iceland. I just wonder if as part of that sponsorship, they've opened that up.
So I think I'm probably not the best place to answer this, but we're having that discussion at the moment. They are sponsoring us and supporting us with a lot of stuff that they're doing in store. I'm not sure if they're doing a nationwide sort of store-based support. However, store by store, I think it's worth asking, especially if you have that relationship already, definitely. If you highlight the fact that the relationship is there and that they are sponsoring, they are kind of our headline partner this year. I know that they are going to be doing a lot of stuff with us next year as well. So yeah, I think maybe definitely go ahead and ask. They're definitely going to have a few things. I know they're doing things where they're going to be kind of advertising packs for big lunches, like, you know, get all your stuff for your big lunch together. They're also going to be doing some like giveaways. So they're going to have some like hampers that they can give away. So they might be able to do something like that with you, if you want to give that to a raffle or use it for your big lunch. But I can find out more for you if you like, Caroline, because I'm definitely not 100% on that, but I know it's a discussion that's going on at the moment.
That'd be really helpful, because I'm just thinking if we do the afternoon tea concept this year, could they provide some of the little cakes that go in or whatever?
Yeah, and I'm sure, again, I've got a feeling it's going to be a shop by shop. I don't know if it's going to be a nationwide decision that they can help. So I think it's probably going to be dependent on like the manager, or if they have like a community member of staff, but if member of staff is focused on supporting the community. But definitely, yeah, they're definitely supporting the big lunch this year, and it should be, if that's the case, then that would be great. We would love for them to do that as well. So it's definitely worth asking. But I'll try and get information for you for that. That's great.
Especially Iceland. I can't remember his position, but he wrote The Green Grocer, quite an interesting book, because I didn't know what to expect about everybody has got a different opinion on Iceland, but they are very good with communities and stuff. And I'm also thinking, so Morrison's is not your sponsor, but they have been going on a lot with communities and stuff, and they were giving away the seeds of hope for sunflowers. So that's a good one for Valerie's birthday also.
Ah, brilliant. Yes. Yeah, so we're being sponsored by Iceland this year, which we're really pleased about. But that doesn't, you know, that if you've got a different supermarket or you don't have an Iceland near you, you know, feel free to go and ask elsewhere. Local businesses generally will support these sorts of events. We were chatting about this last week, actually, in the talk about fundraising, where actually, if you do need support, if you can have some sort of letter that looks official, you know, even if it's just so that you can write down what your, if it's whether it's got the Big Lunch logo on it or you've got your community group logo on it, having something for them to be able to put in their paperwork to say, this is what we've given away X, Y, and Z, and actually this is why we've done it. That's helpful for them. But I think generally it's definitely something you can approach any local business with, and definitely worth it. Andy?
Yeah, coincidentally, we work with the Morrison's Community Champion quite a lot, and the Seeds of Hope, we paid for some seeds to be planted in near here, and we went over there with Morrison's and we invited the local school children from the local school to spread the seeds, and they are very good at helping things like that.
Yeah, brilliant.
Dedicate them to Granny for her birthday.
You need to get in touch with all of these people, Val.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing a comment from Inma about picnic big lunch for their school. Oh, and a big lunch for your busy road. Brilliant. Yeah, it's definitely, we've had quite a lot of uptake from schools this year, actually, because they sort of seen it as a way of doing something at social distance. Like at the moment, a lot of schools aren't able to invite the community or even parents in, but they're hoping to by July. So it really, stuff like that really will be affected by kind of restrictions. Right, I'm conscious of time because we were meant to do another breakout room and we've been chatting away. So if anybody else has any other questions, do pop them in the chat and we'll see if we can answer them, or we can follow up with them. So if Sam's ready, we're going to have another breakout room, a bit shorter this time. It's going to be 10 minutes. That we're going to put you into regional groups, so kind of in your nation. So we're going to have Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, and Wales, just so that you can connect with what people are doing near you. And also if it's helpful to go through kind of restrictions in your area, because they are all different at the moment. So Sam, when you're ready to do that, and then we'll have those for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and finish up and do a quick merchandise shout out again. So I was just going to highlight a few things quickly. So happy to kind of chat through ideas or have this kind of open space. But I wanted to highlight a few things really quickly. The first one is that this year we've got a really good partnership with Tempo Time Credits in Wales specifically. So it's just us that has this. This is a special privilege for us. Basically, if you run a big lunch this year, you can claim time credits in return for your time given. So if you've got a group of volunteers who are helping out, you can offer them time credits as well. If you don't know what time credits are, I can run into that, but I won't bore you otherwise. It's kind of a system where you give an hour and you get a credit for an hour back. So yeah, it's a really, really good opportunity if you well, two things. It's one, to be able to say thank you to your kind of volunteers and being like, thank you for helping out. Realistically, a big lunch shouldn't be a difficult thing to organise. We wouldn't want like to be hundreds of hours of work for anybody. But it's more of a being able to say, you know what, you're giving up your time and we appreciate that. So thank you for that. The second one alongside that is that following that, if a few of you have got time credits, you can then go and spend those. So you can have another get together and get some vouchers for Just Eat or Pizza Express. I think places like that are doing, you can spend your vouchers through them at the moment. So I'm just going to go find a link for that, and I will share that in a moment so that you can read up a bit more about that. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully it's been really helpful for you to have some ideas about what to do. And if not, yeah, I think I keep saying get in touch if you need some more ideas, if you need to run things through. I was just saying to Laura, and actually, if you're confused about what to do, ask your community, ask your neighbours, and hopefully they'll be able to help you decide.